So let me introduce Ann because of course, Ann and I go way back. Uh, I'm the coordinator of Crescent Village Neighbors and has been a very active member of our neighborhood association. And I'm going to read the blurb that we put out on NVN so that people are familiar with it again. Lincoln Drive is the deadliest street in the area for motorists and pedestrians, yet little has been done to bring about substantial changes until now. Through Ann Dicker's leadership as chair, the West Mount Airy Neighbor Traffic Calming Committee has been working with legislators at various levels to make Lincoln Drive safer for everyone, particularly the stretch from Cliveden Street to Allen's Lane. So let me give you a little bit about Ann's background because you are going to talk about that and the effectiveness of various traffic calming tools employed by WMAN. Ann has been a resident of Mount Airy for the past 12 years and is a longtime community activist as reflected in our own little community. In addition to being on the board of WMAN, she is the leader of the Mount Airy Tree Tenders and the co-founder of Quiet Clean Philadelphia. A graduate of Middlebury College, she currently works at Living Beyond Breast Cancer. And knowing that her husband is an astrophysicist, Simon has done some presentations for our neighborhood association, and everybody in the neighborhood knows their daughter Alice, who runs around greeting everybody without shoes for most of the years. But Alice is loved by everybody. And let me turn it over to you, Ann, and you could delve further into your topic.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for inviting me here to talk about my favorite subject aside from trees and leaf blowers, traffic and traffic calming. So as Steve said, I'm going to talk about Lincoln Drive tonight. But before I do that, I want to take us back and talk about traffic calming in general. And I've got a little bit of a presentation because not everybody knows what traffic calming is. Okay, there we go. Can you all see it? Oh, you're all, okay, great. So this is actually a presentation that the Bicycle Coalition of Philadelphia developed, and I've added a couple more slides and didn't tell them yet about it, but we've been working very closely with the Coalition because despite its name, the Bicycle Coalition actually is the foremost group working to make the streets safe for every single person in this city. They host the Vision Zero conference every single year, and I've been relying on them heavily throughout this whole journey of traffic calming in Mount Airy. So, what is traffic calming? The Institute of Traffic and Transportation Engineers defines traffic calming as a combination of measures that reduce the negative effects of motor vehicle use, alter driver behavior, and improve conditions for non-motorized street users. Traffic calming has actually been around for decades throughout the world, and unfortunately, it really hasn't been used terribly much in the US, but you see it all over the UK. Just in London last week, and it was everywhere. So why do we need traffic calming? Why do we need to slow cars down? Well, the first thing you need to know is that at 20 miles per hour, a car traveling at 20 miles per hour, you actually have a 90% chance of surviving if you're a pedestrian being hit by that car. But if you bring it up to 40 miles per hour, you have an 80% chance of dying. And if you're over 60, that percent chance of dying turns out to be 95%. and it's just stunning. And the hard fact about this this slide I have here, very sad, is that this study was done about 10 years ago when cars were smaller. It does not include the SUVs that we currently are driving. And in fact, in the last 10 years, typical SUVs have increased in weight by about 30%. So if they redid the study using a regular sized SUV that's currently being sold in America, you would actually see that fatality rate going higher and higher. And that's exactly what you're seeing in Philadelphia. As you see, when pedestrians are hit by the F-150s or the very, very, very large monster SUVs, people are actually being thrown out of their shoes and being flung 50 feet and they die. It's really horrific. So try not to drive a very large car if you are very concerned about hitting pedestrians. Pedestrian deaths are rising. In 2021, the US had the highest level of fatalities in 40 years. 7,485 pedestrians were killed, and that was a 12% increase from 2020 and a 54% increase from 2010. The percentage of speeding-related pedestrian crashes involving children ages 15 and younger more than doubled in the previous 3 years. So this is just getting worse and worse. In Philadelphia, we actually implemented a Vision Zero plan, which actually the whole idea was to bring traffic fatalities in Philadelphia down to zero. And this started in 2016, and we wanted to get to zero by 2030. But as you look at this graph, you'll see that we are only increasing. We are definitely not on the way to Vision Zero at this point in Philadelphia. This is a map of the traffic fatalities in 2021. We saw 42 pedestrians that were killed and 8 cyclists. 24 of these fatalities were hit and run, and that number seems to be increasing ever the more. In fact, I believe last week, right outside of D'Alessandro's, there was a hit and run of a 61-year-old woman who was crossing the street and she died. And sadly, oddly enough, it was only 2 months before then that the exact same thing happened to a couple and their young son. They did not die, but they both had very, very serious injuries. So hit and runs are absolutely increasing, and we've seen it everywhere, Germantown, everywhere. Philadelphia is really not doing well in relation to other sister cities like New York City, Boston, Chicago, San Francisco, LA is the only city that's higher than us. We have 7 traffic deaths per 100,000 residents. New York City has 2.59, and I'm going to talk about New York City in a second. Other cities right on very nearby to us, New York, Jersey City, and Hoboken are all reducing their pedestrian fatalities. And this chart is the pedestrian fatalities per 100,000 residents. And the blue line is actually showing that going down for New York City and going up, and the red line is going up for the USA. So what is New York City doing differently? Because sure, we have different characteristics, but change over time means they're doing something good. What is it? It might be traffic calming. This is a little video, and Steve, you're going to chime in. Let me know if you can hear this in a sec, okay? This is a 2-minute clip.
And we're not hearing anything.
You're not hear it?
No.
Can you see it?
We can see it.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the volume. I'm going to let it play because I want you to see exactly what is going on, and I will talk about what's happening. These are the streets of New York City, and what they've implemented is a thing called daylighting. What daylighting does is it allows drivers to see pedestrians cyclists, and other motorists clearly. And in order to do that, in order to daylight a crosswalk, basically you make cars park legally, which means that they have to be 30 feet away from the crosswalk. You'll notice that in Philadelphia, we don't do that at all. And these are just pictures showing that the increased line of sight allows the drivers to see the pedestrians. So when you daylight a crosswalk, just that increased visibility has done wonders to helping New York City lower its traffic deaths. And in Hoboken and Jersey City, they've actually lowered their pedestrian fatalities to 0. And, you know, Hoboken's a much smaller city. Jersey City's smaller as well. But they daylighted every single intersection in the city, at least in Hoboken, and they've reduced those fatalities. It's amazing. So this just goes on just to talk about the streeteries and how that they are also a form of daylighting. Unfortunately, in Philadelphia, we pretty much did away with those about 2 weeks ago because nobody could get the new licenses that they were required. So it's really, really sad.
And what do you mean by daylighting? What is exactly happening? Is it increased?
What?
Or
sure. And you know, I actually don't mind if people unmute themselves to have questions in, if you guys don't mind, because that's a really good question. So daylighting, some of the treatments are simply like putting traffic cones at each end of a crosswalk so that cars don't park in the crosswalk, or putting traffic cones beyond the crosswalk in towards the street to prevent people from parking 30 feet within 30 feet of the curb. Legally, you're not supposed to be doing that. It's actually a $50 fine in Philadelphia, but of course we don't enforce that whatsoever. However, we have a new program called the Slow Zone, which would put daylighting measures throughout a neighborhood, and we can actually see it in several neighborhoods. It's really improved the traffic calming effects. Another way you can do daylighting is you can do something called curb extensions, and that's simply putting concrete right into the crosswalk, and it makes the crosswalk shorter. That is actually going to be implemented on 6 intersections in Germantown Avenue in Westmount and Airy within the next couple of years. So the daylighting is definitely coming to Mount Airy. It's just how much of it can we get? So New York is very into traffic calming. They've been organizing for over 25 years. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay. So besides daylighting, there are all different kinds of tools that count as traffic calming that will slow cars. Traffic signs, traffic lights, speed cushions, curb extensions, corner clearances, protected or parking protected bike lanes, crosswalks, raised crosswalks, red light cameras, and automated speed cameras. So that's a lot of them. And those might be coming to us soon. They might be coming to Lincoln Drive. Oh, there was slow zones. Actually, Lucy, if you see here, this is a very good example of daylighting in Philadelphia. You see how they've put the flexi posts on there?
Yeah.
And you see how they've restriped so people can't park right there?
Mm.
Just doing that alone allows the drivers to see oncoming pedestrians. It's amazing how simple these tools are. It's super inexpensive to do. I think we could actually do the whole city if we had the money, not the money. Actually, the money is actually not so much a problem as if we had the people to do it. Right now, manpower is a really, really big thing in the streets department, where they're down 2 crews.
Can I ask, what are corner clearances?
Corner clearances. That too, basically that would be extending the corner out, just like the crosswalk is. Actually, you can see a little bit of the corner clearance on this picture, as it's kind of, how would you say it? If you see the curb part of the corner, that is a corner clearance or corner extension. They're called all different kinds of things in the books.
Are you talking about those parallel stripes on the side of on the side of the crosswalk, the lower left corner?
Yes, on the lower left corner.
Yes.
Okay.
So you don't want cars to be able to drive right into, you want the cars to be very careful how they're turning. Instead of being an easy curve, you want it a nice hard curve.
Oh. Okay, so it's not really any sense like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, didn't get it.
All right. So now I'll talk a little bit about Lincoln Drive. All of the daylighting measures I was talking about before are for neighborhood streets, like, you know, the normal little streets that we all live on. But then there's some really hugely problematic streets in Philadelphia. The high injury network is a number of streets that the city has found actually capture 80% of all traffic crashes in the city. And it's only 12% of the streets, which is amazing. And they're the streets that you think are the most dangerous. Roosevelt Drive, #1 in the city as a dangerous place. Henry Avenue, which has, it's like every single week there's a hit and run. It's crazy. Lincoln Drive in our own neighborhood, Germantown, Washington Lane, Upsall, Ardley, Stetton. They're all on the higher injury network. So Lincoln Drive was actually given a lot of traffic calming treatments about 4 or 5 years ago now. Unfortunately, it was only the city-owned portion of Lincoln Drive. I don't know if you guys remember that, but they put rumble strips on it, they restriped it, they put these great new lights on it. But that was only something that the city could do. It turns out that a number of roads throughout the city of Philadelphia are actually owned and controlled by the state of Pennsylvania. And up until a few months ago, the state of Pennsylvania said, you cannot have traffic calming on these state roads in Philadelphia. Not going to happen. We just don't do it. You know, we need to get as many cars through as fast as possible. That's the engine of growth in this country. Well, that's crazy. And actually, traffic engineers have known for years that it was really a wrong policy. And so we are very fortunate in PennDOT's 6th district to have a number of people that are dedicated to traffic safety. And they are now looking at Lincoln Drive for traffic safety improvements. We organized to have them, you know, to get a petition, to have them look at it. And they said, yes, we'll take a look, and we will see if we can implement some traffic calming measures to Lincoln Drive. So the first thing that happened was in about, I guess, October, the city of Philadelphia and PennDOT hired a contractor to simply look and see what are the traffic volumes, what's the crash history on Lincoln Drive, what are the traffic patterns going on that is making it so incredibly dangerous. And they have completed that section of the study. We actually met with the traffic engineers performing this consulting work a few weeks ago and walked from Allen's Lane until Cliveden, looking at each and every intersection of Lincoln Drive and describing exactly what's happening And they had so many good ideas. And I think that the plans that they have are going to be very exciting if we can find funding to actually implement them. We're expecting their plans in the first quarter of 2023. So by March, we should know what they think are their short, medium, and long-term plans. Short-term plans are probably going to include getting new streetlights. Just by putting new streetlights alone on the lower part of Lincoln Drive significantly reduce the traffic accidents. They are looking at putting speed slots, which we know will also reduce the speed of the drivers without actually, impacting the volume of traffic. They actually put speed slots on Cobb's Creek this year, and they were able to reduce the average speed of drivers from 61 miles per hour to 19 miles per hour. So that they had even a worse speeding problem on Cobb's Creek than Lincoln Drive did.
What are
Speed
slots?
slots?
Yes.
Speed slots are kind of like a cross between a speed hump and a raised crosswalk. So they go the entire length of the road, and you don't go like this. They're straight, and so they're raised, but they're not raised nearly as much as a speed bump is.
Aren't they already on parts of Lincoln Drive, past Wissahickon Avenue?
The rumble strips are on the lower part of Lincoln Drive.
Right.
The speed slots I've only seen on Cobb's Creek so far.
Yeah, we have speed cushions on East Gowan, and also on parts of Mount Airy Avenue, from Wissahickon down to, I think, Green Street. So they're scattered, but they're certainly not on Lincoln Drive.
But those are different.
Yeah, they are.
Right, those are speed cushions.
Those are higher, and they're
Yeah, they're speed cushions. They're not speed slots.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Whereas speed bumps go all the way across,
Correct, but that's
and
what
they're
I was just
permanent.
talking about.
The
Yeah.
speed slots, correct. And actually, the speed bumps that we currently have Mount Airy, they're going to be trying to convert those to permanent speed humps that are just part of the asphalt instead of the rubber ones.
Yeah.
The rubber ones are really only temporary. We also have asked them to restripe Lincoln Drive and put a grippier asphalt down, and that is almost certainly going to be part of the short-term plan. They're definitely going to change the way that the Green Street turn to the co-op works. The traffic engineers absolutely could not believe that the other traffic engineers that had designed this previously put that in. They thought that's crazy, but they actually figured out what they need to do in order to make it not cause crashes. So I'm very excited that is definitely going to happen.
And do you want to continue with the screen share, or do you want to?
Oh yeah. We can stop that.
Okay.
So the last thing, just the long-term plan, I don't know if this is going to be recommended or not, but both the traffic engineers and the community have asked for a traffic circle at Emlyn Circle. Right now, we have a fake traffic circle at Emlyn Circle, and it's causing a lot of traffic crashes. But we know from the data, when you actually put a real one in, you'll reduce traffic fatalities by traffic crashes by 80%, and because it forces drivers to go 25 miles per hour. But that's a long-term goal because it costs about $1.5 million to implement one of those. They're also looking to put one in potentially at Wayne and Lincoln. So we could actually have a welcome to Mount Airy sign at the beginning of Lincoln Drive and Wayne, or at Emlyn as well. So there's potential to put a lot of very Mount Airy-ish things in the middle of a traffic circle if we get them. So let's see, what else is there? There's going to be another traffic calming meeting on the 16th, the Monday, Martin Luther King Day at 7 o'clock in the evening. And if you'd like to attend that, it's you can just sign up at WMAN.net /traffic calming, or email me and I'll send you a link.
You know what you can do, Ann? If you want to send it to me, I could post it on the NVN bulletin.
Oh yeah, totally. Okay. I will do that. And I'm just posting that link in our chat. There you go.
And who's responsible for those little signs that are posted all along Lincoln Drive now?
Me. So the Slow Down Mount Airy campaign is just meant to raise awareness that people need to slow down. Drivers just don't pay attention to their speed anymore. And it's not really meant to be traffic calming. It's just awareness raising. If you want one, I have them.
No, they work. I'm just saying,
thank you.
as I'm driving down the drive, I noticed, I pay attention.
Thank you.
They've accomplished their purpose, and now they can be recycled.
Indeed. So there's lots of stuff going on in Lincoln Drive. I'm really excited about it. There are going to be more community meetings, but it's going to be a 2 to 7 year process. But there are also opportunities to get slow zones in Mount Airy, and we're actually going to be putting in for a slow zone in a section of Mount Airy from Carpenter to Upsall and from Lincoln to Germantown. We probably won't get it because it's very, very, very competitive, but we thought we'd put it in all the same.
And what can we, the average Mount Airy person, do to not only bring this to the city's attention, but also do our little part in our neighborhoods?
Well, join the traffic calming committee, number one. In our own little CVN, we've put little traffic cones, a little mini version of daylighting, and I would love to get that throughout Northwest Philadelphia. Number two, we need to agitate politically. There's going to be a mayoral forum at the Vision Zero conference dedicated to Vision Zero. If you go to the Bicycle Coalition website, you can sign up for it, and it's actually going to be after the Vision Zero conference. And we need to get to the mayoral candidates, and we need to get to all of City Council to show them that this is a very pressing issue. There are a lot of really complex problems in Philadelphia and a lot of violence problems in Philadelphia, but this is the one that I think can be solved rather easily with money and with additional staff. If we had $30 million more for this Vision Zero initiative, if we can get more slow zones in, we're going to be saving lives.
Let me ask you, in relation to the money, we had Cindy Bass come and speak with us just a few days ago about a whole other issue. And she made it very clear that the city has a surplus, has a very comfortable surplus. So how can that be tapped, especially with city council members who are receptive to traffic calming?
Well, Cindy has signed up to be at our traffic calming meeting next Monday. Continue encouraging her. She has actually listened to us. There are at least 3 powerful members of council that are completely against it. Kenyatta, Johnson, and Curtis Jones have been terrible. And the president of City Council hasn't been great either. But Cindy's been good, and some of the at-larges have been great.
Why would they object? I don't understand that. Is it money? Is that what?
No, it's actually not money.
So
It's backwards thinking. it's, you know, wanting to drive as fast as you can because that's the be all end all. We should be able to go 75 miles per hour on Ridge Drive. We're actually about to widen Ridge Avenue so that cars will be encouraged to go even faster.
Really?
Really?
Unbelievable.
Doesn't
And
it-
on Henry Drive, which they are completely redoing, Curtis Jones Jr. Took away what was going to be the safest plan and instead is putting in total half measures. And you can already see the impact of it with people continuing to murder pedestrians right outside of D'Alessandro's.
That's,
It's just incredible.
Is that,
and,
Well,
and can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
It's dealing with, I'm living, like 3 doors down from, Emlyn Street on a one-way street, Dorm Street. And what I'm noticing is that when those cars come down Emlyn, they have their radios up or their whatever music up so loud, and it's just really disruptive, you know. And other things I notice are the I guess they're the engines. They make so much noise. Some of them don't have mufflers.
Absolutely. And you pointed out a huge problem. Number one, Emlyn is being looked at for traffic calming as well. It's actually the #1 street we recommended to get it outside of Lincoln Drive.
Great.
But number two, the noise factor of these new cars is horrific. It's part of a trend in selling cars to make, well, selling cars is basically make America great again tools.
Oh,
You know, the best-selling car in America is the Ford F-150, and they market it to scare people. Literally, they put it in their marketing plans. And what is actually terrifying is not only the noise, but when they get the electric ones, the
yeah.
Ford F-150s are twice the weight, and they can go from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. When those are out on the road, they're going to be, we're going to see pedestrian deaths skyrocket. It's absolutely terrifying. So, you know, I applaud what Washington, D.C. is doing. What other cities are doing is they're actually putting a $500 registration fee for all large vehicles. And those usually include those that are far too loud. And actually they're putting noise ordinances in as well, because it makes the city life so uncomfortable. 100 years ago, or what is it now, 130 years ago, streets were for people. Streets were, you know, supposed to be for everyone to use. You know, the horse and cart, the carriages, people walking the streets, the bicycles. And now, you know, civil engineers and our transportation department took over what was a public right-of-way.
Anne, if I can ask a question or a comment, I thought that the Lincoln Drive street that you're from Cliveden to Allen's Lane is a state road.
That's
so
correct.
it really isn't a city issue as much as it is a state issue. I mean, the city isn't the issue of providing money; it's the
That's
state.
correct. So
Yeah.
so the providing money bit is going to be Senator Haywood working
Okay.
with Senator Casey to get some of the transportation funding bill money. Lincoln Drive will be eligible for
Okay.
that. It's a matter of cranking it out. That you're right. That's not a city issue.
Okay. And the second question is a very local question because we live on Lincoln Drive near Allen's Lane. That stretch from Mount Pleasant to Allen's Lane, I don't know if it's an accident-prone stretch, but it is certainly a speed stretch because it's a straight road and a lot of
noises and a very noisy.
often
stretch.
noisy. But a lot of people who live here have been trying to get a traffic light on Mount Airy Avenue that would slow things down. And part of the problem is it's a state road, which makes it much harder. I'm just, I guess I'm asking if that could be raised as part of this issue to try to get something at Mount Airy and Lincoln Drive to slow traffic down between Mount Pleasant and Allen's Lane?
I will get back to you on that. There are some rules about where you can put stop signs and traffic lights, the distance between the two. I know what they're looking for that stretch is to put a speed slot there to
Okay.
slow the cars down. I'm
Okay.
not sure
Well,
they
that
can
would-
put a traffic light.
Well, that would be good too. I mean, the idea would be to have something to
They're
slow.
definitely looking at
slow
something.
traffic. Okay.
It's totally included, but that
Okay.
straight stretch is probably going to be a speed slot.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question for Ann as well that follows on with what Elliot just said. I don't live officially in Mount Airy. I'm 1 block away from it, off of Washington Lane between Green and McCallum Street. But there is an intersection that almost all of our immediate neighbors in a 3-block area have to go through, and that's the intersection of Duval, a very narrow, small side street that crosses Green Street. And because that intersection is halfway between 2 traffic lights, one at Washington Lane and one at Johnson Street, it's a 2-block stretch, which allows motorists to just speed along. They're doing 50 miles an hour in what should be a 25-mile-per-hour street. And,
Okay.
and when you come
Marty?
out, when you come
There's
out of that
something we can do
intersection,
about that. There's definitely something we can do about that. What we can do is we can actually request a traffic study, and I've got this stuff on the website, but one of the things that WMAN is doing is it is filing requests for traffic safety study on behalf of residents. If you give me a description of exactly what's going on, I will write it up and we'll request that of the city engineers, and they will do a study.
okay, we've already done half of that. We did a neighborhood survey, and we went around and canvassed the whole neighborhood and got 100% sign up for everybody in the area to get some kind of traffic calming for that intersection of Green and Duval, because we've had so many near accidents.
Did
Myself-
the traffic engineers say they would do the study?
We haven't gotten that far. We've done the survey, the canvassing, and we have the stuff ready to go, but we don't know who to contact and how
I can get you the last mile.
Okay.
Just send it all to me and I'll get you. And what has been really great is I literally have been sending them to Cindy Bass, and she has been fast tracking as she is able to.
Okay, great. All right, then you're my woman.
Yeah, we've definitely have ongoing traffic studies. It's really a matter of, and this is so crazy, the city has not been able to hire. They've got all these open positions, but the city council enacted a law, I guess, in the middle of the pandemic that said you had to live in Philadelphia for a year before you could apply for a city job. And that has restricted the city's ability to hire. And it's just really hamstringing us.
Okay.
And another question. The D'Alessandros is an interesting issue because I happened to see it on the news, and a lot of the issue is people jaywalking. It's trying to cross in the middle of the street.
Exactly.
A busy intersection, and I don't know. And so I'm wondering, given that, is that an issue on Lincoln Drive as well? Is that an issue? I don't know if it is or not, but is that an issue
No,
with some of the
jaywalking is not really an issue
Okay.
on Lincoln Drive.
Okay.
However, jaywalking is something. So traffic engineers know what they're doing, but they haven't always put the interest of the pedestrian first and foremost in mind. Now PennDOT is really trying to do that. And the measure that they could have done at that intersection would be to shorten the crosswalk and put a pedestrian island in the middle of it. Simply those kind of measures could have reduced the kind of thing you're seeing. We could also have put additional crosswalks in and reduce the speed that Henry drivers are speeding on. So there were all sorts of things that you get. And also, I mean, even though it seems crazy to us, it's not illegal to jaywalk in Philadelphia. Jaywalking was something that a traffic offense that was literally promulgated by the car companies. The pedestrian always has the right of way.
Well, but the way the traffic flows on Henry Avenue, I mean, you're right, there are measures that could be probably taken, but the way the traffic flows on Henry Avenue, and if you try to cross in the middle of the street, cars can't,
You're absolutely taking the life
can't
into
see
your own hands.
you,
Absolutely.
and it's
I get it.
it's often at night that people are doing it. They're buying something and they want to get back to their car or whatever. So there's a lot of issues that are difficult to deal with. It would be easy for people to walk to the corner and cross at the light, but they don't do that. They want to get across quickly.
So one of the things
It's
is,
a tough issue.
there's actually a lot of distance between crosswalks on Henry. So that they actually need to increase the number of crosswalks so people aren't jaywalking. So they actually have that pedestrian island to go to. And you see the same thing with Roosevelt, which is going to get some of these improvements very soon.
And I have a question. Years ago, when we were dealing with all sorts of traffic calming measures and street direction changes in our little neighborhood, there were attempts to have, not attempts, but there were requests to have, what are they, speed cushions?
Bumps. Yeah,
speed cushions across Allen's Lane, and we were told that because Allen's Lane is a state road, that they wouldn't allow that. So is that still the case?
It's no longer operative.
Okay.
That's not still the case.
Okay.
Meaning it can?
Yes, it can.
And just with all the complaints about noise on Lincoln Drive, et cetera, we're going to have a new problem with more and more electric cars because they don't make any noise at all. I mean, I drive a car that people don't hear me coming. And that is going to be a bigger problem as more people get into electric cars.
You're absolutely right. I believe that we need more regulation coming from the Federal Department of Transportation regulating electric vehicles, particularly autonomous vehicles and the very large monster truck electric cars. And we need leadership. I mean, I love Pete Buttigieg, but he's only one person. He's got to change an entire department.
Yeah.
Can you spell out what a slow zone is?
Sure. And I didn't mention even the most important bit. A slow zone is a small half-mile by half-mile area of the city that has a reduced speed limit of 20 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. And within the slow zone, neighbors have the opportunity to help traffic engineers understand their problem and to get whatever traffic calming measures are necessary in order to enforce those speed limits.
Thanks.
Why not just take
let me bring up another thing that happened in our little neighborhood, and that is years ago when we had the streets commissioner come and do a walkthrough of our neighborhood and all the problem areas. There was an attempt by some neighbors to have speed cushions put on Gresham Road between Allen's Lane and Mount Pleasant, and the biggest pushback was from those neighbors living on Gresham Road. They didn't want it because of the noise that the cars make when they go over, and the false notion that that plows on trucks clearing the snow wouldn't be able to clear the snow away. That is not correct.
That's correct. Yeah. I mean, there is a belief that the speed cushions are noisy, but I've talked to a number of neighbors. Actually, a gentleman out on East Gowan had them installed right in front of his house when they were, I guess it was last year. and he told me that he never hears them at all. So yeah, I guess you notice them when you're walking out as a pedestrian, but as a homeowner, it's not bothering anybody. And the rumble strips actually on Lincoln Drive that they have that actually rumble when you're in their car because you can really hear it. They are specially designed so that you can't hear it out of the car. So it's kind of amazing technology that they've come up with some pretty cool things lately.
But Steve, now they have, I think, pretty much fixed that area, that road with a stop sign and Mount Airy Avenue. The drive is much slower. Cars are much slower now between Allen's Lane and Mount Pleasant and on Crusham, on
Not on Gresham.
Emblem.
I think
Emblem.
you're thinking of a different segment than
Oh, okay.
what we're thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, because we wish that there were a stop sign at Gresham Road and Mount Airy Avenue, but there isn't.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
was
It's
thinking
the
of
Highway
Emblem.
Transportation Manual has these like certain rules that if you break them, the city loses, the civil engineer loses their license. And that is endlessly frustrating that we can't get all the stop signs that we want.
Yeah, yep.
Really?
And we had talked, Ann and I had talked about doing, as they say, guerrilla tactics in our own neighborhood. If you want to address that at all, Ann.
Sure. The guerrilla tactics that would be absolutely wonderful if we could do is to simply go around and repaint the crosswalks. Simply go around and paint the no parking with white paint so that it's clearly marked. It's not going to help everybody, but it's those subliminal markers to most drivers that they're actually, it'll help you slow down just a little bit. Additionally, we've purchased the traffic cones and just done a little bit of DIY traffic calming, just putting them in the crosswalk so that drivers don't park in the crosswalk. It's so simple, some of these measures.
Yeah.
Why not?
See, we're running against a premium of parking spaces in our neighborhood, plus the fact that we're having 2 new developments coming in that are going to take up whatever few parking spots are available. So we're running against that. And neighbors park as close to the corner as possible. And in our very 90-degree angle streets, you can't see oncoming cars.
Yeah,
Amen.
it's definitely a challenge.
Yep.
I have cars parking in a bus stop that obstruct the intersection that I'm concerned with. And it's so bad that in 3 cases in the last year, I was nearly T-boned by cars oncoming down Green Street when I was trying to get out of Duval. Could not see past them because they're huge SUVs.
Exactly, and they
Yes,
do
you're
it in
on
front of the liquor store on Germantown Avenue all the time too. So one of the things, and this is why I really hope people come to the traffic calming meeting, is I would like to talk to the Philadelphia Parking Authority and start getting some ticketing, or the police department to ticket those egregious places where it's really, really causing a huge dangerous area.
Amen to that.
Wait, go ahead.
I was just curious. I thought you might be showing that film that Steve referred to earlier, the one that showed, was it Holland or London?
It was Holland.
That showed different streets and what they've done. And I think it was a really good visual to kind of get a sense of some of the things you've been talking about. But that was the one that we didn't have the sound on. Is that possible for you to bring that up and show it?
Yep. I can totally show that one. Let's see. Not just bikes. YouTube. If you just give me a minute. Here we go. Okay, it's just showing this 1 second and I will share my screen. Okay. This is from a YouTube channel called Not Just Bikes. And again, the sound is off. And these are just examples throughout the Netherlands of different traffic calming treatments. When we were in London a few weeks ago, it was the same thing everywhere. It was so easy to walk in London. I felt so safe. There were bollards everywhere. There was traffic calming everywhere. You felt so like, and not only that, the cars weren't going fast, and there was hardly any traffic. And from what I understand, that they increased so much the protected bike lanes in London, that so many people have taken up biking that, in addition to the congestion charge, traffic has just kind of evaporated. It's amazing. You get all this density, all this people walking and biking around, and yet they don't have the nightmare of all the cars blasting everywhere. And this is just an example of, like, in Canada, which is like the US, and we don't have traffic calming. Wide streets make cars go fast. So you want the narrowest street possible if you want cars to go slow. And we should be doing this in every city in America. We can't even get bollards put up by the streets department. They don't even have a regulation for it. And yet they were everywhere, all over London, and they were beautiful. They were so cool. It was aesthetically pleasing.
I think we call them stanchions here.
Bollards.
Well, we mostly have flexi posts, which are hardly do anything, and then they get killed. But they're made of, steel in London and iron. So yeah, if you want to look at this, the website is Not Just Bikes. It's part of a website called Strong Towns, and it's a really fascinating website that doesn't just deal with traffic calming, but it deals with how to make urban life livable, how to get retail that is you can walk to it, and how to make our streets more vibrant. It's just a great website. So I will stop the share there.
Are there any other questions that Anne can fill us in?
One quick question for Anne. The meeting on the 16th, a week from today, you said at 7 p.m. Is it Zoom or in person?
It's a Zoom.
And Steve, you're going to post information on it so we can sign up and get the Zoom?
Sure. As soon as Anne sends it to me, I will post it on the NVN bulletin. Okay.
And Anne, could you give me your email address so that I can send you that information?
Sure. I did put it in the chat, but it's ann.dicker@gmail.com.
We have a film discussion meeting on Zoom at about the same time, I believe.
Oh, damn.
I think we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Monday?
It's the third month.
Definitely do.
Yes.
Well, if you sign up and register for it, we'll have meeting minutes. And I'm sure there will definitely be next steps.
Well, if you make it into a movie, we could discuss it.
Yeah, I'm signed up for the film, or I will be signed up for the film discussion too. So.
Yeah, that's everybody on
And what film is that?
We're discussing Pinocchio and
Pinocchio.
also Footnote. These are two films that deal with father-son relationships.
Ah,
The new Pinocchio.
The new Pinocchio.
The one,
the new one. Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, and the other one.
Footnotes is a foreign film, Israeli film, but it's very good. Even if you don't come to the session, it's worth seeing.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally into it.
And Elliot always suggests great movies. So
Not really.
that is a good
And
one.
I'm often ignored.
So how old do you have to be to join the Northwest?
You
Network.
qualify, Ann.
You're not young. You're on. I think you're too young.
I don't meet the cut yet.
No,
Yeah, 55.
I'm almost there. What if I lie about my age?
Is there
How
an
old
age?
are you?
Anyway,
we
I'm
won't
50.
tell. We won't tell anybody.
Is
That's
there an
right.
age? Is there an age thing for Northwest Village, New
No,
York? I didn't
Not
even know.
officially.
I
no.
think officially I get an AARP card.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's over
Right.
50.
At
It's over
50, right?
50.
You're in the
Over
making.
50.
50 or older.
You pay your dues. You're a member.
That's right.
Exactly.
You know, AARP is really into traffic calming. They are the primary sponsors of
Is
Vision
that right?
Zero in
Well, that
Philadelphia.
makes sense for the
Yeah.
elderly.
Yeah.
I remember another issue with Lincoln Drive was the timing of the lights and being able to cross the street. If an older person tries to cross the
They
street,
actually changed the lights. They've
they
already
did?
upgraded those. And they
Okay.
put the leading signals at both Green and McCallum and Carpenter.
So they're
Yes.
longer, you mean?
Yeah, and they've upgraded them, all three of them. Of course,
Well-
all three of them have already been crashed into.
Oh, no, it was mostly the timing of the lights. They were too short.
Right. So they also increased the timing.
Yeah,
They
that was
changed
a
the
big-
timing. That was one of the things that was a brilliant thing about making them do a walk on Lincoln. They could see the
Right.
problem and they were like, oh, I can change that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important because I
That's great.
often go through that intersection at Green and Lincoln, and they have
Right.
the walking light before the green for turning right onto Lincoln Drive. So pedestrians get a 2-3 second lead on before any traffic can cross their path.
Until they change the striping at Green and Lincoln, I recommend not crossing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a good. And I know they have the crossing guard, thank goodness for the kids, but
Mhm.
they're practically causing the accident with what they've got it striped as right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of those, I forget what they're called, but there's one at Lincoln Drive in Mount Airy. They're pedestrian crossings. They're not striped, they're just signs. And they're totally ignored.
They help a little bit, incrementally,
Yeah. Well,
not effective.
and I want to thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. I think you've helped open our eyes to what is and what can be done, and hopefully will be done. So
Thank you.
thank you. This
Oh,
has
thank
been,
you. That's been
Thank
fun.
you,
much.
Ann.
Very much, yeah.
this has been
Anytime.
very informative.
Yeah.
Take
Very
care.
helpful.
So thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody have a great night. And
You too.
look both ways before you cross the street.
Be careful out there.
It's probably
Bye.
not enough. After hearing the presentation, it's probably not
Good
enough.
night.
Listen,
Bye.
thanks for all you do, Ann.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I second that.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome, Lynn.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody, doing this.
Anything you
Good night,
can
Hope.
do.
Good night.
Good night, Lynn.
Good night.